Welcome to episode number 4 of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast.
On today's episode, we're going to tell you tales of daring, do bad, and good as we discuss DuckTales.
Woohoo!
The movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
We are your hosts, Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Wagner.
Friends since first grade who are now dads taking a nostalgic look at the Disney movies we grew up on.
But with humor, dad jokes, and an occasional wisdom as we watch these movies with our own kids. But before we begin, Eddie, how are the kids?
Well, sleep has been a rare commodity here in our household. Our son,
as in every
Lewis,
household, but you've got a special situation.
He has just been hitting these like milestone sleep regressions that like all your sleep books and blogs and all these things that people write about kids. He's hit them all. And so right now we are in the midst of just epic battles over sleep. Even when he falls asleep, he'll wake up every about 2-3 hours. And I love Jim Gaffigan's thing about how you feel like it's a reverse negotiation, hostage negotiation. You know, and it's like, no, stay in. What can I do to keep you in? And this all came to a hilarious head yesterday. Earlier in the week, he went on a grandma adventure with my mom.
Oh, nice.
Which includes, of course, a trip to Walmart.
Of course.
And so she's buying him whatever he wants because that's what grandmas do.
That's what grandmas do.
And she decides, she texts us and says, hey, does he have a Halloween costume yet? And we said, no, we haven't decided. She comes home with a Baby Yoda costume.
No,
with
stop.
the like Jedi thing, you know, like the robe that he wears and this hat.
Did it come with a little cup? Did it come with a little cup?
It doesn't come with a little cup. We'll have to offer that. So we're like,
what'd you think? What are you thinking now?
So we're one of these weird families that coordinates. Like we're all gonna be in the same line here, right?
I can attest. I think I've seen some of your outfits before.
Yeah. We get into this. This is fun for us. So immediately we're like, oh gosh, what am I gonna be like? And Sarah's like, I am not making a Mandalorian costume. That's just too much work, you know. Like,
and I can't really see her as the assassin lady in that either.
So we get Lewis into his Baby Yoda costume, and it, of course, is adorable. Like,
oh yeah,
I know I'm a little biased, but I've got a cute son. Let's just say it out loud there. And then you put I am biased. You put him inside of a Baby Yoda costume, and it's just like cute on cute. We're sending pictures to the whole family, and everybody's just losing it or whatever. And then, like 5 minutes into this, he just decides he's going to go hog wild on the dog, and he's just like beating the dog. We're like, no. And as I pull him away from the dog, he has a total meltdown, like just 2-year-old fit in a Baby Yoda costume. And Sarah and I cannot hold it together.
How did you even? There was to be no straight faces.
No, and it's horrible because you know these situations as parents. Like the second you lose it and are laughing, you lose all credibility to hold the ground of discipline. And so I mean, we're just time out in your room, and we're sitting on the couch laughing so hard we're crying just at the whole scenario. Then we get him back out there and we're like, okay, it's time to take off the costume, and he doesn't want to take it off. So it continued, and it was hilarious.
Did you get the question we're all wondering is, so did you guys decide what you guys are going to wear? Are you just going to make it the extended Star Wars universe, or?
We haven't decided yet. I think we're going to end up being
Luke and Leia.
No, we're going to be extended Star Wars.
Star Wars.
We haven't decided a little bit, but the good news is they're actually doing trick or treating here in our town.
That's good. That's good. I don't know that we've decided yet if what we're going to do. We keep on setting out a bowl of food, of like candy for people. Food. In some places, it is food.
Come to our house. We
have candy bowl every year, and literally nobody ever comes because we're always in like an apartment area, and everyone leaves to go to the rich neighborhoods to get the best candy, and they don't do trick-or-treating in our own neighborhood. So today, as we talk about DuckTales, we are moving into a new year. So of course, we want to update you on what was happening in that year. And so today we're talking about 1990.
This is a big milestone. We've moved into the 90s.
We are officially into the 90s. If you're a 90s kid, that doesn't mean you were born there. Sometimes we definitely cross into the 80s, but now we're in here. We're in the 90s.
It's like,
Eddie.
What decade occupied the majority of your childhood? For us, it was the 90s. The 90s were also dubbed by the former Disney CEO, Michael Eisner, as the Disney decade. That was like his big, massive plan. This is the Disney decade. So the 90s were very consequential just overall in the world as well. You saw a lot of moves in the fall of the Iron Curtain. You saw the release of Nelson Mandela from prison in South Africa and kind of the official end of apartheid there. So a lot of big changes happened in the world during that time.
In sports, we had actually back-to-back titles by the 49ers and the bad boy Pistons. And then the Reds won I think that's their last World Series title was in 1990. So they have not had a very good run of things ever since then.
Our number one song was Hold On by Wilson Phillips, which I don't think I can recall at all. But the number one movie in 1990 was Ghost, which, hilarious enough, in being up most of the night, doing my hostage negotiations for sleep, I was rewatching Community.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody's ever watched this show. It just came back out on Netflix. Yes. And I just watched the episode of when they take the pottery class. And it is Joel Hale, who's the pottery teacher. And the whole bit is like, no ghosting in my class. And so the main character gets kicked out because he was reenacting Ghost unintentionally. This is also the year that Pretty Woman comes out, which is actually a Disney movie that was released under one of their other studios. I think it was Touchstone or something like that. And then Home Alone, which is now a Disney movie
because of the Fox,
ever since
Fox
they bought
merger.
Fox. So those are all kind of very interesting. Funny fact, I actually worked in the town where Home Alone was filmed. I worked there for 3 years.
Oh, yeah. In college?
In college. So I've been to the Home Alone house. I've been to the high school that was abandoned at the time, and they turned into a film studio where they filmed all of Home Alone. So I've run through the park that he runs through. This isn't about Home Alone today, but those are interesting tidbits.
And if you want a good behind the scenes of Home Alone, there's a great Disney Plus episode about. No, is it Disney Plus?
No, it's on Netflix. It's like The Movies That Made Us.
Yes.
Is that the name of it? Yeah.
Movies That Made Us, great series, but there's a Home Alone one. It shows you how they made it and the story behind it and how it almost didn't get made. It's great.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes because that's definitely worth the watch.
So random other things that happened this year. The Hubble telescope was released. What's the right word for that, Eddie? Released.
Launched.
I couldn't remember if it was like a big telescope in the air, if it was a on the ground telescope. You can kind of have both. Both can kind of be the same thing.
It is it was launched by the Space Shuttle Discovery, if memory serves me correct.
Which we talked about in the last episode.
Which we did. Yeah. See, we're bringing all this together. And no, it's a workhorse. It's what takes all the deep space pictures. It's floating out there in low Earth orbit. I'm a space nerd. Sorry.
Yes, I knew you would know the answer to all of this. A couple other things. There was a formal proposal for the World Wide Web began here. I know there was the internet, but now we got the World Wide Web where we can all just browse.
Do you still meet people who don't say www or like we're even past the www dot?
Nobody ever says it.
No, people will just say, "Honey, we made at honeywemade.com." That's just how you say it.
Shameless plug right there.
Shameless plug. But then you can kind of see dating of people because some people will say www.honeywemade.com. And then there's those people who go, the World Wide Web
I've
honey.
never.
And you're like,
I think we're pretty far away from World Wide Web.
I grab a few people every once in a while and I'm like, who are you?
Who are
Sorry.
you? The last big thing we just want to mention before we move on is we missed a major milestone from 1989.
Major.
That was very important to my childhood, at least, which is the release of the Game Boy. Last time I made a tragic error by not including that in the show notes for our last podcast. But that's it. We're done talking about 1990 itself. Let's get into the reason that we're here today, which is to talk about DuckTales.
Cue the Disney.
No, Eddie, hold up. Eddie, you missed your moment. You missed your moment. This is, I can't believe this.
Let's
you
do it
missed
again.
it. Okay, so let's do it again. We are talking today about DuckTales.
Woohoo!
Treasures of the Lost Lamp.
Cue the Disney-ish sound effect.
So DuckTales, let me read you off our IMDb description, log line of what the movie is about. Scrooge McDuck takes Huey, Dewey, and Louie to Egypt to find a pyramid and a magic lamp. I think that is the first quarter of the movie. And then the rest of the movie is not in Egypt, so it's interesting.
It's in Duckburg. Yes,
it's in Duckburg.
So I grew up on the TV series DuckTales. This was like I think any 90s child loved the series. And before we hopped on, we were discussing just how iconic the theme song is of
it's probably
this.
the biggest part of the movie.
Yeah, you can yell
series.
DuckTales into any room of millennials and they'll all woohoo back at you.
A room of millennials.
Because those rooms are everywhere. No, we're too busy out destroying the world, according to all the Gen Xers.
Eddie, what were you feeling as you were rewatching this again?
This probably, out of all the movies we've reviewed so far, brought back the most feels.
Interesting. Tell me why.
Because I just remember watching this movie over and over. The scene in the backyard where Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Webby get Genie to like create just like all of this wonderland of toys. I was just, as a kid, remember like, oh, I wish we had that. And then the ice cream falls out of the sky. It's just like, it brought back so much of, I remember watching this as a kid and enjoying it, and having Lewis kind of just standing right there in the same bright-eyed bewilderment was really cool.
So this is where we definitely diverge pretty far, and this might be a contentious episode, because I don't have very many memories of this at all, or if at all. I remember mostly the show, not as much this movie. I'm not even sure. I'm sure I've watched it before, but I don't have. It was kind of brand new for me watching it the first time, and maybe it's the fact that I'm older now, and or what. But I definitely. We'll get into feelings later about like the parenting side of things or whatever. But overall, I didn't really care for the movie that much. Rewatching it, maybe because I'm a full grown man now, but like the mischievousness like kind of annoyed me the whole time, where they're just constantly doing the wrong thing, and Scrooge McDuck is just about his money. And so I'm like, are we gonna like have some like heartfelt moments in this at all, or what? There's kind of something at the end, but I didn't have as many memories about this as you did.
Well, I was probably far more mischievous as a child as well. So what's interesting about this movie, when I was looking it up, I didn't realize this. This was actually the first time that Disney distributed an animated film that was not produced by Walt Disney Feature Animation.
And then who made this?
So this was actually made by Walt Disney Television Animation.
I gotcha.
So it's the same people who were doing the work for the TV show. I think they decided, hey, let's do like a special movie edition, let's tell a bigger story, and they were going to air it on TV. And Disney saw the success of DuckTales, the TV show, and said, hey, let's distribute this theatrically and, kind of a broader. What's interesting is that is ultimately what begins to set you up for Toy Story.
How so?
Because Toy Story is the next animated feature not produced by Walt Disney Feature Animation to be distributed by Disney.
Because of Pixar. Gotcha.
Yeah. So this movie opens the door for Pixar.
It's interesting. This movie definitely was not a critical success in the sense of I don't know about I'm not looking at the Rotten Tomato meter on it or anything like that, but the box office was they only made 18 million off of this compared to like Aladdin making 500 and other things like that. So it definitely wasn't one of their top movies.
No.
For the box office. And it's not one that is a Disney classic in the sense of when you think of your favorite, most people think of like Disney movies from the 90s. Go quick off the top of your head. This is definitely not one of the top ones unless you're like Eddie and watched it ad nauseum on his own.
No, it definitely is more in your kind of cult Disney category. I think it wouldn't have gotten made if it wasn't for the TV show, for multiple reasons, right? And it probably wouldn't be remembered. I think it gets lumped in with the TV show when it gets remembered. People think
I gotcha.
DuckTales. Oh yeah, and remember when they made a DuckTales movie? That's kind of how it gets remembered, which is fine. I think that's kind of the point of it, but it's still, I love it. It's clearly a Indiana Jones ripoff.
100%. That's what I was definitely thinking.
Where what I found surprising is that Disney went ahead with this, knowing that Aladdin was in the pipeline.
That's what I was thinking while watching this was, where was Aladdin at in the process? Because Aladdin doesn't come into 1995? Is that correct?
I think a little bit sooner. You know what I'll do is
go look it up. Go look it up.
I'll hop on our website, honeywemade.com.
Ooh, another shameless plug.
And go to the movie list, which has a list of all of the movies.
honeywemade.com/movies. You can check out all of the movies that we are planning to cover if something tragic doesn't happen before that we get to the end of it. And you can see all of the movies we're doing. And if we've already done one, there's a link to go to the exact episode.
Aladdin came out in 1992.
Whoa, this is right on the heels. Right
on the heels. It was in development. So, wait till the Aladdin episode, because you return to Alan Menken and Howard Ashman for that story.
So while watching this movie, I kept on thinking, how close was this to Aladdin? And I thought it was like 95, so maybe they were preparing the Aladdin movie. And when it starts going, I'm like, well, wait, how? There's so many different plot points in this, like the story, especially the ending, the big crucial ending point, which, are we going to spoil that right now?
Sure. I don't think it really spoils the movie. This isn't
you think people have had enough time to actually go out and watch this if they want to? But the turn at the end,
30 years, folks. Come on. No.
The turn at the end when he sets the genie free was an almost complete ripoff of it, but it also wasn't
is Aladdin
earned.
A ripoff of DuckTales?
Yes, it made me question it. Definitely. I felt like maybe they saw this and went, let's try and do it better. That's how I felt with it, because this felt so unearned. Scrooge making that turn at the very end. Sure. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and turn you into a real boy, when nobody has any intention the entire time. No promises made, no whatever. They're just spending their wishes ad nauseum on everything that comes up, or even undoing their previous ones. There wasn't any like, oh, we're really heartfelt with. I think I got some of the camaraderie between the kids or whatever, but I never felt like they like at the end, man, they're totally going to come around the corner and set him free. It felt like let's have a real button on the end of this, because we've literally just watched these people try to steal gold and lamps the entire time.
Right. This here's how I think this really went down. I think the fact that this movie was not produced by Disney Animation,
That's
it was
crucial.
produced by the television. I think the right hand had no idea what the left hand was doing.
It was too far along to backtrack.
Because feature animation started working on Aladdin the moment Little Mermaid was in the can. In fact, Aladdin was supposed to come out before Beauty and the Beast. But they felt like Beauty and the Beast was going to be a stronger follow-up, so they pushed it out ahead. So I just think they had no idea that they were doing the same movies. They see how successful the TV show DuckTales was. Oh, you've got a movie. Let's go ahead and put it out in theaters. Oh, crap. You've pretty much are telling a very similar story. Don't worry. Ours is going to be much better than yours.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe they even might have not have put as much marketing power and PR behind it. And it was like, oh, the fans will love this. And then we'll move on to the movies we really want to be putting out into the world, which is one other one. Even that same year, The Rescuers Down Under, which we will be talking on the next episode about.
Yeah.
Should we talk about some parenting aspects of this, now rewatching it as a parent and putting this in front of our children?
Well, I don't intend on picking up a genie lamp anytime soon, so hopefully. No, there is an element where just kids taking their wishes however they want, and it's like, yeah, that is how kids want. That's how kids are, It's just like, give me. This is what I want. If we would let Lewis watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse all day long, he would do it,
Yeah. I think there's an interesting parallel. So in this, we just see them use their wishes and bad things happen, and then they just undo them, and then they keep on going. What's interesting, if you go watch the newer animated series of DuckTales, which is rather interesting.
It's good.
It is pretty good.
And the voice actors are phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What's interesting to go back and watch those ones is there's an episode where one of the kid gets his wish to have Christmas every single day. I believe it's Christmas in the thing. And by the end of it, he got the sense of why it's not good to relive the same day over and over and over again, because it makes everything taste bad. And it when you get too much of what you want, it doesn't have as many meaning. And I felt like you leave that going, oh, that's a good thing for kids to understand. In this, it's just, they just undo what they make a ton of messes, and then they can just undo it. And I'm like, is that what we're going for here? It didn't seem like that big of a thing. Also, when this is just a funny line that happened in the middle of it, where they're like, Mr. Uncle Scrooge, what are you going to do with your money? It's like, well, most of it's going to go to museums. And one of the kids is like, that doesn't sound like Uncle Scrooge. And he said, but I'm going to get a hefty tax break. And they're like, that sounds like him. And I'm just like, yeah, Uncle Scrooge. I don't know that he's like a great role model for kids. It's like, no, I'm just out for the money. I'm trying to impress my rich friends in the Hamptons and stuff like that. I'm just like, okay. And also, can we just talk about we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the kids' parents later on.
No, you're hitting on, a lot of the fun things there. Of the original series never had fully rounded characters. Like, what was great about it was
it's sketches. It's more sketches.
Yeah, it's just sketches. Here's some kids getting into trouble. This was the early 90s. They weren't trying to teach kids stuff through TV. I sit down and watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and it's like Lewis has learned all of his shapes and colors, and it's just crazy. You got to teach kids through television apparently now, but when we were kids, it was like, no, let's teach them how to get into trouble.
I'll say, if you rewatch any Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, there's a lot of emotion.
He's the original. Yeah,
he's the original. He's the OG for this.
For sure.
Another random line from there is, a genie isn't a person, a genie is a thing, but he's our friend. It's like, okay.
What did you think?
Good try.
How long did it take you to realize who the voice actor of Murloc was?
Immediately. I was like, Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah. I'm like, how in the world did they get Christopher Lloyd? Because this was fresh out of the 80s, which was his his decade,
Apex, his apex. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I loved hearing him in there, and he did a really good job with Murloc. But honestly, the movie's just a giant kind of game of hot potato with that lamp, just over and over again. Who's got it? And they just keep on chasing him for it. You really got to turn your brain off and just go, okay, if I just want to watch kids doing weird things the whole time and getting into trouble and a bad guy trying to get them. That's basically what this movie is.
So, what is going to be your rating? How many fruit snacks out of 5 are you going to give it?
I mean, I'm giving it a 1. I really didn't enjoy it. The reason I finished the movie was because of this podcast. I was just like, I'm done. I was done after like halfway through, where it's just like, I don't care. I'm not invested in these people.
So what's funny is at the beginning of the quarantine, you had more family movie nights than what we usually did. Mm-hmm. And Sarah's like, oh, what should we watch with Lewis? And I'm like, we've got to watch DuckTales, the movie. This is one of my favorites. So I've now watched it twice this year. I'll give it 2.5 fruit snacks.
Wow, that's generous.
It is generous. Nostalgia tips the scales a lot there, and I can admit that. I'm man enough to admit that.
Gotcha. So we kind of touched on this, but how would this movie be different in 2020? You can see it if you watch the new animated series. There would be more
character development,
more repercussions, like longer lasting than just now I just undid everything that I just did wrong.
Less stereotypes. I feel like the new series kind of gets rid of stereotypes.
Yes, the people from Arabia definitely did not. They're definitely heavy-handed in dealing with those people for sure.
The unintended morals of this story are kind of all over the place of just giving kids whatever they want at every pass is never a good idea. Ultimately, you have to tell the cute baby Yoda kid, no, this is not good for you right now.
I've always wondered this. What is the family tree for the McDucks?
I need to do some research because Scrooge is their uncle, and so is Donald Duck, because Donald Duck will show up, and they call him Uncle Donald.
I'm looking at it right now, and this may or may not be true at all by any means.
And I'm looking at a random. I believe that there's a third sibling. So you have Scrooge, Donald, and
Della Duck.
Yeah, and she's the mother of Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
You know what? I can't even find that. This is a weird tree. I think I'm going to send this to you, Eddie, so that you can. Oh, it's backwards. I get it now. This is actually saying it's reversed. It's a weird tree that I'm looking at right now.
Huey and Dewey, Louie are at the top.
I'm sorry you guys can't see this right now if you are on podcasts, but it's actually saying that Scrooge he's an uncle. It's like Uncle Scrooge, but it's because he's not a direct grandfather. So he's like, if you have your grandpa, their brother, then you just call him Uncle whatever. So he's actually not a brother to Donald. There's Donna Duck and Della Duck, and Della Duck, and there's a missing. We don't know who her husband was, but then you've got Huey, Dewey, and Louie Duck. They're just straight Duck. McDuck. Was I calling it? Oh, Scrooge McDuck, but it's Donald Duck. Why are we talking about last names? This is crazy.
I was going to say, you're diving deep. This is the type of deep dives we do for you here.
This is the type of Disney deep dives that you get here. And I don't even know if this is accurate or not. This was the first thing I pulled up. And I might spend some time here. But anyways, back to what we were talking about. The parents, what happens if there is any parents other than the crazy uncle in this picture? They're probably not going to Egypt. to go cave diving.
Right. I think you would lose most of the stories of all of DuckTales, TV show and movie.
It's all because of kids that are let loose.
Unsupervised, yeah. It's all based off of unsupervised
children.
Kids.
Yes. What was your kid? Was Lewis into this, watching it?
Yeah, transfixed. The whole time. He got, there's a few kind of scary moments with Murloc, but for the most part, he really loved it and watched it.
Gotcha. I haven't watched this with my son yet. I watched this on my own one night to prepare for this podcast. So, but he has liked the other animated series for themselves.
So do we have any dad tips based off of this?
If you find a magic lamp, hide it.
Mine would be watch your kids. Don't let them just kind of, always be up to their own. No. I think it is a great example of like, yeah, you can't always give your kids everything they want. Sometimes it will destroy them. So today's question, we want to hear from you. We want to know, kind of stealing from the end of both DuckTales and Aladdin, would you give the genie his freedom?
This specific genie. We're not talking about Aladdin, just Gene.
This genie.
Gene
this
the
genie in
genie.
DuckTales. Would you or would you not? You can go to honeywemade.com/listener to answer that question. We would love to hear from you.
And we've got other poll questions from other recent episodes as well. We want to get a sense of your morality. Would you actually do any of these things? But thanks for listening. Please subscribe, follow us. We're up on iTunes. We're up on Spotify. We're trying to get to other places as well. And if you want to, like we said before, if you want to see what the upcoming movies we're going to be reviewing are, we've got that full list at honeywemade.com/movies. If we've done an episode so far, you can go listen to that episode, as well as see where we at in the pecking order of the next ones that we're going to be doing. But Eddie, what is the next movie that we're going to be doing?
Our next movie is only the second time Disney ever did a sequel. And this is, of course, The Rescuers Down Under.
I'm super excited about talking about that one.
All right, I got to get going. I need to go plan out a whole Star Wars costume for Halloween to match Baby Yoda. So I got to get working on that.
Nice. And I got to go run to Egypt with my son to go find a lamp. So thanks for listening.